The fastest way to lose your power with a man is not loving him too much. It is teaching him that he can give you less and still keep all of you. That is why there are 9 things a woman should never do with a man. Not because she needs to become cold, mysterious, or difficult, but because each desperate action quietly lowers the standard of the relationship. Don't beg, don't chase, don't keep writing, don't keep calling. But most importantly, understand what to do instead, because silence by itself is not power. Distance by itself is not dignity. And ignoring a man while secretly checking your phone every 5 minutes is not detachment. The real shift begins when you stop organizing your emotions around his next move and start paying attention to what his repeated behavior is already telling you. Most women do not abandon themselves in one dramatic moment. It happens through small negotiations, one extra message because he might be busy, one more explanation because maybe he misunderstood, one more chance because this apology sounded different, one more night waiting for the phone to light up. Slowly, she enters what I call the emotional waiting room, a place where her life continues on the outside, but her attention remains seated beside a locked door, listening for his footsteps. The danger is not only that he may never walk through that door. The deeper danger is that she begins to believe waiting is proof of love. The first thing a woman should never do is beg a man for affection, reassurance, commitment, attention, or basic respect. Begging does not always sound desperate. Sometimes it sounds soft and reasonable. Please just tell me what I did wrong. Can you at least tell me where we stand? I can change if you tell me what you need. Please don't leave without explaining. The words may sound loving, but the position underneath them is dangerous. You are placing another person in charge of deciding whether your emotional needs are valid. You are asking him not only to choose the relationship, but to confirm that you are worthy of being chosen. Some men respond to begging with guilt. They offer temporary reassurance because they do not want to feel cruel. Some withdraw because the emotional pressure feels overwhelming. Some enjoy the control, even if they never consciously plan to manipulate you. Others may genuinely care but still lack the maturity, readiness, or desire to offer the relationship you want. Those explanations are different, but your next move does not require you to read his mind. It requires you to observe the result. If basic care must repeatedly be begged for, the relationship is already giving you important information. Nadia learned this after 6 months with Omar. In person, Omar was warm, affectionate, and attentive. He remembered small details. He talked about places they could visit together. He made her feel chosen. But after almost every emotionally close weekend, he became distant for 2 or 3 days. At first, Nadia told herself he was busy. On the second day, she sent a gentle message. On the third, she asked whether everything was okay. By the fourth, she was apologizing for things she could not identify. Omar would eventually return, tell her work had been stressful, become affectionate again, and promise he had not meant to worry her. The relief Nadia felt was so intense that she mistook it for intimacy. That is the first reversal you need to understand. The emotional rush you feel when he finally comes back may not be proof of deep love. It may be the relief of uncertainty ending. When you have been emotionally starving, ordinary attention can feel like rescue. The less consistent he becomes, the more powerful each return feels. Begging for reassurance does not create security. It can create a cycle in which anxiety makes basic attention feel extraordinary. The stronger response is not a threat and not a long speech. It is clarity. I'm looking for consistent communication. If that is not something you can offer, I understand, but this dynamic does not work for me. Then stop explaining and observe what happens next. A healthy man may ask questions, explain his situation, or make a genuine effort to become more consistent. A man who wants access without responsibility may become temporarily attentive, defensive, vague, or charming. You will not know the difference from one emotional conversation. You will know it from the pattern that follows. The next mistake is louder. A woman should never chase a man who is actively pulling away. Chasing is often presented as romantic persistence. In movies, one person runs through an airport, sends 100 messages, or refuses to give up until love wins. In real life, repeated pursuit after someone has reduced effort usually creates a different dynamic. Either he feels pressured and retreats further, or he offers just enough attention to prevent you from leaving. Neither outcome gives you mutual investment. When a man pulls away, your nervous system may treat the distance like an emergency. Your mind wants to close the gap immediately. So you ask questions, apologize, offer solutions, become more available, and try to remind him of what the two of you shared. You believe you are fighting for the relationship, but sometimes chasing prevents the truth from becoming visible. If you stop carrying the connection, will he pick up his side of it? You cannot answer that question while you are doing all the work. This does not mean every period of distance is manipulation. People experience stress. They need space. Communication styles differ. Life becomes complicated, but healthy distance still contains consideration. A person can say, I'm overwhelmed and need a little space, but I don't want you to think I'm disappearing. Repeated unexplained withdrawal is different. Context matters. But patterns matter more. If he pulls away, do not immediately punish him or imitate his silence. Ask once if something has changed, give him a reasonable opportunity to communicate, then step back and observe. You are not trying to make him miss you. You are allowing reality to reveal how much effort exists. When you stop supplying all of it, the third thing a woman should never do is keep texting, writing, or calling when her messages are being ignored. One follow-up can be reasonable. People miss messages, phones die, work becomes demanding, but repeated contact after clear silence changes the emotional position. The message is no longer only, I want to connect. It becomes, I will continue offering attention even when you offer no response. That teaches the other person that your access does not require reciprocity. Elise experienced this after 3 promising dates with Aaron. Their conversations were easy. He seemed interested. He talked about seeing her again. On Friday, Elise sent a message, no response. Saturday afternoon, she sent a joke to lighten the mood. Sunday evening, she asked whether everything was okay. Monday morning, she apologized in case she had seemed too intense. Aaron finally replied, sorry, crazy weekend. Come over tonight? Elise felt a wave of relief and agreed immediately. She believed her patience had been rewarded. What the pattern actually taught Aaron was that he could disappear, return with almost no explanation, and still receive immediate access. The stronger response would not have been an angry paragraph. After one unanswered message, Elise could have returned to her life. If Aaron contacted her later, she could assess the quality of his return. Did he acknowledge the silence? Did he make a clear plan? Did future communication improve? A return is not the same as repair. This is the second major reversal. A man contacting you again does not automatically mean he values the relationship more. He may miss comfort, attention, familiarity, physical closeness, emotional support, or access. He may also genuinely miss you. But what matters is not simply that he returned. What matters is whether the pattern changed. Do not reward a return before you understand what it represents. The fourth mistake is quieter because it often looks emotionally mature. A woman should not over-explain herself to a man who has already understood the basic issue. Over-explaining usually begins as an attempt to be fair. You do not want him to think you are controlling. You want him to understand your history, intentions, fears, and reasons. So you send a long paragraph, then another. You keep adding details because you believe the correct explanation will finally produce the correct response. But when someone understands your boundary and simply dislikes it, more explanation does not create respect. It gives him more material to debate. Claire learned this with Evan, who often made jokes about her in front of his friends. The first time, she laughed even though she felt embarrassed. The second time, she told him privately that it hurt. Evan said she was too sensitive. Claire spent 20 minutes explaining that she understood humor, that she did not want to control him, that she respected his friends, and that she was not trying to create drama. By the end of the conversation, the focus had shifted completely. Evan's behavior was no longer being discussed. Claire was defending her right to feel hurt. A stronger response would have been shorter. I don't enjoy being made the joke in front of other people. If it happens again, I'll leave. That is not a threat. It is a statement about her participation. Boundaries are not instructions designed to control another person. They are decisions about what you will continue to accept. If he understands and changes, the relationship becomes safer. If he mocks the boundary or repeats the behavior, you receive clarity. The fifth thing a woman should never do is ignore mixed signals because the good moments feel powerful. Mixed signals create obsession because they prevent the mind from reaching a conclusion. He is affectionate, then distant. He speaks about the future, then avoids making plans. He says he does not want commitment, then becomes jealous when you pull away. He disappears, returns intensely, and then disappears again. The contradiction keeps your mind working. You begin searching for the hidden meaning that will transform inconsistency into love. But mixed signals become clearer when you stop studying each moment separately. His warmth may be genuine, his attraction may be real, he may care about you, he may also be unwilling, unready, or unable to build the kind of relationship you want. These truths can exist at the same time. A man can have feelings and still be the wrong partner for you. That is one of the hardest things to accept because it destroys the fantasy that if you understand him deeply enough, love him patiently enough, or behave perfectly enough, his emotions will eventually become commitment. Strong feelings do not automatically create emotional capacity. Instead of asking, does he feel something? Ask a more useful question. What kind of relationship is his repeated behavior capable of creating? That question changes everything. It moves you out of the emotional waiting room. It stops making his hidden feelings the center of your decision. You do not need proof that he is cruel, manipulative, or dishonest before deciding that the relationship is not healthy for you. Incompatibility is enough. Inconsistency is information. And this is where the title goes deeper. Don't beg, don't chase, don't write repeatedly, don't call again and again. But do not turn those actions into tricks designed to trigger him. Because outward silence can still hide inward desperation, Nadia eventually stopped sending the second and third messages to Omar. But at first, her silence was not peaceful. She checked his online status. She watched whether he viewed her stories. She imagined the moment he would notice her absence. She stopped chasing physically, but mentally, she was still running behind him. She had left her phone alone, but she had not left the emotional waiting room. This is the midpoint most women miss. The real issue is not only whether you send the message, it is whether your attention is still organized around his next move. You can perform detachment while remaining emotionally trapped. You can delete his number and still replay every conversation. You can ignore his message and spend the entire day wondering whether he will send another. Real power begins when the question changes, not how do I make him respond, but what does this pattern require me to decide? The sixth thing a woman should never do is make herself constantly available. Availability is not the same as warmth. You can be kind, open, affectionate, and responsive without rearranging your life every time he appears. When a man learns that you will cancel plans, stay awake late, answer every emotional crisis, and accept every last-minute invitation, he may enjoy your presence without developing greater responsibility toward the relationship. This is not about pretending to be busy. Fake unavailability is still a performance designed to control his response. The goal is to genuinely possess a life that does not collapse whenever he becomes attentive. Keep your commitments, protect your sleep, maintain your friendships, continue your work. Do not abandon your schedule to prove that you are flexible and easygoing. If he asks to meet at the last minute, a mature response may be, I can't tonight, but I'm free Thursday if you want to plan something. No punishment, no lecture, no fake coldness, just a life that already has structure. Many women believe they were hurt because they gave too much love. Love is rarely the problem. The problem is giving unlimited access without standards, emotional labor without reciprocity, and repeated chances without evidence of change. Generosity becomes self-abandonment when keeping the connection requires you to disappear from your own life. The seventh thing you should never do is use jealousy, silence, or emotional withdrawal as a weapon. When you feel powerless, games can appear strategic. You post something designed to provoke him, you mention another man, you disappear without explanation because you want him to panic. You delay replies for an exact number of hours, you try to create insecurity so he finally understands what losing you would feel like. These tactics may produce attention, but attention created by fear is not intimacy. You may win a reaction while weakening trust. Silence can be powerful when it is the natural result of stepping away from a damaging pattern. Silence becomes manipulation when you are secretly waiting for it to create panic. The external behavior may look identical. The internal position is completely different. One woman is protecting her peace. The other is still controlled by his reaction. If you need space, communicate it when appropriate. I don't want to continue this conversation while we're both emotional. I'm going to step back and we can talk tomorrow. If the entire connection has become unclear and draining, say, this dynamic is not working for me, so I'm stepping away, then step away because you mean it, not because you are setting a trap. This leads to another reversal. Being chased after you withdraw does not prove the relationship has become healthy. Sometimes the withdrawal simply activates his fear of losing access. His pursuit may be sincere, but sincerity in an emotional moment is not the same as long-term change. Do not confuse urgency with readiness. The eighth thing a woman should never do is tolerate repeated disrespect because she is afraid that enforcing a boundary will end the relationship. Fear creates a painful bargain. She accepts what hurts her so she will not lose the person causing the pain. She becomes more patient, more understanding, more flexible. She tells herself every relationship has problems. But patience without standards teaches the other person that apologies are enough, even when behavior remains unchanged. May have faced this with Daniel. He frequently canceled plans at the last minute, then returned with affectionate messages. The first few times, she accepted his explanations. Eventually, she said, I understand things happen, but repeated last-minute cancellations don't work for me. If we make plans, I need them to be treated seriously. Daniel apologized. The following week, he canceled again. Maya did not send an angry message. She said, I'm going to step back from this. I need more consistency than this connection is offering. Then nothing happened. Daniel did not chase immediately. He did not deliver a dramatic confession. He did not suddenly become the man she hoped he would be. For several weeks, there was silence. This is the moment when many women abandon their own boundary. They expect self-respect to produce an instant romantic reward. When it does not, they assume the boundary failed. But Maya's boundary worked the moment it protected her from another month of waiting. A boundary is not successful because it changes him. It is successful because it changes what you continue participating in. An apology without changed behavior is not repair. It is emotional relief. It reduces tension without correcting the cause. Judge apologies by what happens after them, not by how moving they sound in the moment. If someone repeats the same behavior, a calm response may be, I heard your apology, but I'm looking at the pattern. I need to see change, not only regret. You are not being cruel. You are refusing to treat words as a substitute for evidence. The ninth and most important thing a woman should never do is abandon herself to keep a man. Do not abandon your standards, judgment, routines, friendships, body safety, values, or future to preserve a connection that survives only when you become smaller. The most dangerous chase is not always chasing him. Sometimes it is chasing the version of yourself you believe he will finally choose. Self abandonment can look subtle. You stop mentioning what you want because you do not want to pressure him. You accept a situationship even though commitment matters to you. You laugh at comments that hurt. You pretend casual intimacy is enough. You remain emotionally exclusive to a man who refuses clarity. You offer relationship level loyalty in exchange for occasional attention. Then you call it patience because calling it fear would force a decision. The alternative is not becoming cold. It is becoming accurate. You can care about him and still believe the pattern. You can miss him and still decline access. You can understand his fear of commitment without volunteering to live inside it. Compassion does not require participation. Attraction does not require self-betrayal. When a man says he is confused, do not rush to solve his confusion for him. Say, I understand. I'm looking for something clear and consistent, so I'm going to step back. When he returns after silence, do not immediately reward the return. Ask, what are you looking for now? Then compare his answer with what happens next. When he says he misses you, notice whether he is offering responsibility or only emotion. When he apologizes, notice whether the pattern changes. A useful framework is simple: words, pattern, cost. What is he saying? What pattern has he repeatedly shown? What is the emotional cost of continuing? Words reveal intention in the moment. Patterns reveal capacity over time. Cost reveals whether the relationship is healthy for you. If his words are beautiful, the pattern is unstable, and the cost is your peace. Do not let the beauty of his words erase the rest of the evidence. This is also how you avoid becoming paranoid. You do not assume every delayed reply is manipulation. You do not diagnose him. You do not treat one mistake as a permanent identity. You observe whether accountability, communication, and improvement follow. Healthy relationships are not perfect, but they are repairable. When something hurts, both people can discuss it. When a boundary is crossed, behavior changes. When distance happens, there is enough respect to communicate. When mistakes occur, both people take responsibility. Unhealthy dynamics create endless interpretation. You become a detective because clarity never arrives. Every message must be decoded. Every silence becomes a theory. Every return feels like a sign. The connection occupies enormous mental space while offering very little emotional safety. That does not always mean he is calculating. He may be uncertain, immature, incompatible, emotionally unavailable, or simply enjoying a connection he does not want to define. But his motive does not change your responsibility to protect yourself. Remember Elise, who sent message after message until Aaron returned with a late-night invitation. Suppose Aaron later says, I do like you, I'm just bad at texting. He may be sincere, but sincerity does not erase impact. Elise can respond, I understand texting may not be your strength, but inconsistent communication does not work for me. I'm looking for something more reliable. She does not need to prove he is lying. She only needs to decide whether what he offers matches what she needs. Remember Claire, who spent 20 minutes defending why Evan's joke hurt her. The lesson was not that explanations are always weak. Vulnerability matters, communication matters. But explanation should create understanding, not become a courtroom where you argue for permission to have a boundary. Say what happened, say what you need. Then watch whether the other person responds with care or resistance. And remember Maya. Her boundary did not immediately make Daniel chase. That is precisely why it was real. She was not using distance as bait. She was ending her participation in a pattern. Several weeks later, Daniel contacted her and asked to try again. Maya did not say yes, simply because he returned. She asked what would be different. Daniel described specific changes. He made plans in advance. He followed through consistently. Only then did she reconsider. The return was not the evidence, the changed behavior was. This is what emotionally mature power looks like. It is not making a man panic. It is not creating obsession. It is not withholding affection until he becomes afraid. It is the ability to stay connected to your own judgment while your emotions are intense. It is hearing a beautiful promise without abandoning the evidence. It is feeling longing without turning longing into permission. So do not beg for what should be offered willingly. Do not chase someone who repeatedly withdraws. Do not keep writing or calling when silence has already answered for the moment. Do not over-explain boundaries to someone committed to debating them. Do not romanticize mixed signals. Do not become permanently available. Do not use jealousy or silence as weapons. Do not tolerate repeated disrespect. And above all, do not abandon yourself to keep access to someone else. What should you do instead? Speak clearly once. Observe consistently. Protect your schedule. Let patterns carry more weight than emotional moments. Ask direct questions. Accept answers you do not like. Reduce access when reciprocity disappears. Judge apologies through changed behavior. Leave when staying requires self-betrayal. And when a man returns, do not ask only whether he missed you. Ask whether he has become capable of meeting you differently. The emotional waiting room has one door you control. It is not the door he may eventually walk through. It is the door behind you, the one leading back to your own life. You do not have to remain seated until someone decides your value. You can stand up, take your attention with you, and choose relationships where care does not have to be extracted through anxiety. If you want more honest guidance on male psychology, relationship clarity, boundaries, and emotional discipline, subscribe to Dark Realism Psychology. The right man does not need you to disappear to notice your value. He needs to meet a woman who no longer disappears from herself.